downward. So you're going to get a message, that one. I'm going to change the camera. Okay. So as we're ready to, we'll come to equal standing. So the feet are kind of close here. Big toes pointed forward, equal weight in the soles of the feet. I'm going to let the tailbone sink downward and then come up along the back, lengthening up the spine between shoulder blade shoulders up to the base of the skull. Let the ribs lift and open with that next in-breath. I'm going to let the weight of the shoulders come off the ribs. And whenever we do come to breathing out, breathe all the way down into the low belly. And then we get the low belly moving. We're going to bring the hands over the whole core here, all the way down onto the thighs, up to the diaphragm. So just a gentle pressure. And then when we're ready, as we exhale, let the knees bend a little bit. And then rub the hands around the waist, onto the low back. And just sink the hips down, knees are bending. Chin's a little tucked. We'll just for a moment keep rubbing on the back of the waist. And then let's come down the sides of the legs and we'll lean over further. So keep that feeling of the neck lengthening as we drop downward. And we're just going to rub further and further down the legs so we can rub around the ankles. From around the ankles, coming up over the knees, back down again. And then let's just go as low as the knees. So the hands will come above the knees as well, heading up towards the hips again. And as we work here, keeping a gentle, even pressure through the soles of the feet. And we'll just come thighs onto hips. And we'll start to bring ourselves taller again so the hands can come back into the low belly. And working over the core, traveling from the diaphragm down to the thighs. And just slowing down at our own tempo, coming still and bringing the fingertips low. When we need to breathe in, right up the center line. Elbows are going to poke up, lift the shoulders, and just release the arms where they're comfortable. And we'll stay tall as we breathe out. Letting the gaze go up as we finish the in-breath. And just having the face forward and the eyes drop as we exhale. As we're breathing out, we'll just keep the weight of our shoulders off of the ribs. And we'll keep the ribs lifted, belly moving in on the out breath. And just one more in-breath. And on this out breath, as the arms descend, just soften the knees, let them come touching, and bring the hands down by the knees, and just add a little bit of weight through the hands. And then let's create a circle at our knees. So gently pressing the vertebra back, dropping the hips, switching direction when we're ready. And then coming to the center when it feels balanced. And from the center, as we exhale, just melting over, let the hands slide lower down toward the ankles. Let the neck release. And then when we take an inhale, we'll run the hands up the legs. We'll bring ourselves tall, reaching. And let's stay tall as we exhale. Okay, so from here, just float the heels up out of the mat. And when the heels land back down, lifting all the toes, dropping the tailbone. And we'll go back and forth. And when we put the heels down, just keep the toes elevated. Now let's hold the big toes up, pressing the little toes down. Okay, and then switching. And go back and forth, do a couple more. And then we'll bring all the toes up and gently spread them apart. Now, keeping the toes spread, roll the weight across the base of the toes towards the outside edge. And then bring the weight back in toward the base of the big toe. And then push just the big toe onto the mat. Keep dropped in the tailbone, stay long in the back body. And then lift the big toes, take the other toes down, and spread that weight evenly through the base of the toes best we can. And then relax the toes, just release them onto the ground. And then dig them into the mat. Okay, I'm releasing the feet. Let's take them a bit wider apart. We'll come under the hips. We'll let the hands on the hips. And I'm going to start with an exhale, taking our right side back, release the right arm, point behind. Breathing in, turn forward, and bring the arm up. Breathing out, run the hand down the left side of the body, melting over. And we'll come up on the right. And traveling with the breath, going side to side. Neck releases. And just flowing as we breathe. And we'll do our last set. So our left side is going to be our last side. And just pausing when we're back up here nice and tall. And then we're going to bend the knees again. We're going to keep the hands on the hips. And we're going to find a circle through the hips. I'm going to switch direction. And then when you're ready to, let's turn this into some figure eights. So we'll pause in the center and then loop out to one side and then loop out to the other. And when we come through center, let's change our direction. And then when we pause, we're going to pause back in center and then just sway the hips one side to the other. So one leg straightens as we take the hip to that side, then the other. And then come back into the center. And from the center here, pull the heels in close. Have a little gap between the heels. Feet are turned out. We'll start with the hands on the hips. We're going to bend the right knee and slide the hand down the right leg. We'll come below the knee, head toward the ankle. Now, as you come lower, be aware of keeping the weight as even as you can in the feet. We're going to turn the chest over to the left side, looking comfortably to the left. And use an inhale to come up. And when we're ready, we'll switch sides. So being aware of the weight in the feet, coming up as we breathe in, coming all the way tall, both legs straight, and then back down on the right side. Now, this time when we're on the right, we'll pause for a moment longer and poke up the left elbow and then extend up the left arm with the fingertips pointing up. And then we're going to come up. So we'll put the left hand down on the hip as we bring ourselves tall. And then we'll change sides. Once we're low, we'll send up the elbow and then release and extend the arm. And we'll come up, putting the hand down, inhaling up, all the way tall. And we'll do it once more for each side of the body. So first get ourselves low and be aware of that place. And then send that upper arm upward. And coming up as we breathe in, returning tall. When we're ready, going down the left, top arm reaching up, and then coming back to neutral. And we're going to stay up when we get up. Once we're back up, we're just going to swing the heels out again. We're going to bend the knees and slide the hands down just above the knees. We won't put weight into the thighs. We're going to lift the chest. And here, when we breathe out, move the hips underneath and press the vertebra backwards. Keep lifting at the neck. And when you breathe in, move the hips back, take the chest forward, lift the heart, keep the neck feeling open, and then tip the tailbone in here. Find the energy in the low belly. And when you exhale, bring the hips under again. Press the vertebra back. And now from here, we'll use an inhale to come tall. So we'll just start to lift ourselves up, and then we bring the hands up the center line. Elbows poke up, releasing the arms. We'll reach. And we'll just stay tall on the out breath. Okay. Now, bend the knees again. Bring the hands down above the thighs. And we're going to do a circle at the diaphragm. So the low ribs, the lowest ribs here, we're going to take them in a circle around the spine. And let the arms and shoulders respond to the movement, and keeping the neck free and comfortable. Remembering both directions. And coming equal, have it feel like we've done an equal number in both directions, and then we'll pause in the center. We're going to use another exhale to take the hips under, pressing vertebra back, lift it at the neck. And then from here, let's use an inhale. Move the hips backwards now, lift the heart upwards, tip the tailbone in. And when you exhale, bring the hips underneath again. So use an inhale to come tall, up the center line. And we'll stay tall when we breathe out. Now, once we're back up here, moving the feet further apart. So think of the heels under the shoulders. And this time, take the heels outward and allow the knees to soften down a little bit. Want that feeling in the hips, so the tailbone dropping down. Make sure the knees stay comfortable. So keep adjusting, keep the knees comfortable. We'll start with the hands on the hips, and we'll just ease this upper body side to side. Okay, and then pausing in the center, let's release the arms and just bring them straight forward. We'll rotate our arms, push out in the palms, and see if you can get that feeling where you feel the shoulder blades move alongside the ribs, the shoulders forward, and then just feel internally to get the spine upright. So the spine doesn't lean forward, but as best we can, we're taking the palms forward. Let the hips drop a little bit. Experience the weight in the feet. You need a breath, bring the arms by the ears, and press up, lifting the shoulders, moving the shoulder blades upward. And on the exhale, let's come wider, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, or around 45 degrees. And move the shoulders away from the spine. And then just ease the arms down. We'll drop them low. We'll float them up. We're back to shoulder height. And then the right hand, rotate the fingers up and inward as you push the elbow back. And the left hand pushes forward. And just flowing here, going side to side. Okay, now when the right arm is out forward, bring the left forward. And then from here, let's bend the elbows and fingertips, just touch on the shoulders, and then start to create gentle circles, having the elbows circle around the shoulders, and just let the fingers slide around, exploring both directions, keeping the neck long, keeping the back long. Okay, we'll slow down. We'll end up with the elbows out to the side from the shoulders, fingers lightly touching. And when you're breathing out, bring that right elbow forward. Let the face stay forward. Turn the shoulders and ribs to the left. And then the inhale brings us forward. And the exhale, we turn the other direction. We're going to keep the hips, the face forward. Shoulders and ribs rotating around the spine. Stay heavy through the soles of the feet. Okay, so after turning the torso around to the right, we'll stay forward. And then let's just float the arms up, rotate, push up for a moment, and then bring the palms straight down. So palms face outward. And just imagine you're smearing your hands down the wall. And then release the wrists, and then smear the backs of the hands up the wall. And then just down to shoulder height. And spread the elbows, touch the palms together. Now bring the fingertips forward and then gently downward. And let the placement of the arms adjust. And then back up and now inward. And 2 or 3 more times. So just a smooth movement, allowing the forearms especially to respond through this rotation. And next time the fingers are up, just separate the hands again. Now, for this right hand, drop the hand forward, point the fingers down, and then take the thumb inward and up. So now the palm faces toward us, and then drop the fingers downward again. And then rotate the thumb up and the hands back where it began. And now for the left, dives down, the thumb swings inward and up, the fingers dive down, the thumb swings up again, and then the right. And then the left, fingers dive down, thumb comes up, fingers dive down, thumb comes up. And we're just playing with this, going side to side. Okay, we'll do one more set. Okay, and when we've done, just push out, push wide, reach out, get the fingertips a shake, and we'll just rest the arms down. We're going to change the legs by lifting the heels. So let the legs straighten and then put the heels down and just walk the feet a little wider apart. So just new distance where we haven't been before. And then let's start on the right side, turn out the right leg, bend the knee, and we'll just put the right hand on the thigh. We'll put the left hand off back on the hip, and we'll just lean out here and then push up. Use the leg to push up. Rotate the leg inward, rotate out the left leg. So of course we want to adjust the distance between the feet so that we're comfortable in the joints. What we could potentially explore today, if that's okay, is as real weight being coming onto the thigh through the front arm, and potentially that front knee going out toward the toes. So we're leaning some weight out and having the knee travel, but we want to always adjust so we're comfortable, and potentially we'll come onto the forearm. Forearm's probably going to be a little easier as we really explore moving the knee forward. Okay, so when we do the left, let's stay a moment longer, come into the left. Now this left hand, maybe slide the hand, take the hand onto the shin here and slide down toward the ankle or the foot. Maybe have the fist on the mat. And then take the upper arm up and bring it up alongside the ear. Now press on the back foot and inside the hips. Tuck the tailbone a little bit. Push out from the palm, press on the back foot. Maybe let the knee go a little further, but really look after the knee, look after the hip. And when you're ready to leave, swing the upper arm back over onto the hip. Move the hips first and then lift up. And just pause in neutral for a moment. Just give this whole left side a chance to absorb that. We'll go to the right when we're ready. We turn out the right leg. We come down, initially just finding this same lunge. And if it's okay to go lower, take the hand on the shin, on the calf, slide down to the ankle, the foot, maybe place a fist on the mat. So be strong in the core, and then explore taking this upper arm alongside the ear, pressing out in the palm and press on the back foot. And just maybe that front knee moves a little further, but be careful with the joints. And now the upper arm, take it back onto the hip. Move the hips back and up a little bit and then come up tall. And change the distance of the feet. Bring them in a little closer. Okay, we're going to go to the left. We're going to keep the legs basically straight. So turn out the left leg. Let this right heel slip out a little bit. And just check with the hands on the hips how level the hips are. And for a moment, have them feel level, and then tip them a little bit. And then this front leg, drop that hip down, and the base of the hip here move inward, and then allow the torso to lean to the side. Now energize the thigh, energize around the knee, and then this front hand, just slide it down the front leg. So we get fairly low, and then the key point is, what are we doing with our back body? So press weight on the feet, place the hips by a tiny tuck at the tailbone, lengthen the back, and then let's see if the top arm can come higher, but stay anchored into both feet and stay strong through the back and core. Now, when we're ready to come up, let's reach up through these top fingers. So pull up, and we'll float the arms up. We'll turn that left leg in, bring the arms down for a moment. We're going to start with hands on the hips. We're going to turn out the right leg, turn out the left heel a bit, and with hands on hips, just see if we can get that little bit of movement. And then when we're ready, we drop the right hip. Here where the leg connects in, we're going to nudge that area inward. And then we gently head over here to the right. Want to be strong in the legs as we get lower. Have the thighs work around this front knee. Want to engage there. Have the front hand work down the leg. So lengthen the spine. Tailbone's just that little tucked. And if we're feeling strong and comfortable, then explore the arm. And now the upper arm, bring it back on the hip. And then we'll inhale, coming up. Turn the feet to neutral. Okay, let's walk the feet closer in. So we're kind of around shoulder height again, and we're going to pull the heels in a little bit. We'll have the hands on the thighs, and then we'll bend the knees, and we'll just add some weight on the hands here. Lean over, just play a bit with the angle on the feet, the distance between the feet, and see if you can get the hands to slide down on the shins there, down toward the ankles. And when you've got the hands strong near the ankles, drop the hips further. Okay. And then lift the hips higher and then bring the hands back up the legs. So we're just going to let the hands work with our breathing. So as we inhale, we'll just bring the hands up a bit higher, maybe come to the diaphragm. And whenever we're exhaling, the hands are going to slide down, the knees are going to bend. We're going to slide the hands down the thighs, below the knees, coming down somewhere near the ankles, and then just sink the hips, lower, lower, lower. Keep the neck comfortable. Now here, it's really interesting to press gently on the feet. We're going to come up as we inhale. So let the hips start to lift, slide the hands up the legs. We'll bring ourselves all the way up. Inhale up around the diaphragm. When we're ready with our out breath, sliding down again. So dropping the hips. Dropping hips. And when you're ready to, bring the hands below the knees. See how low you can let the hips drop, staying comfortable, always comfortable in the joints. And then when you're ready to come up, use an inhale, push into the feet. Let the hips start to lift and have the arms slide up. All the way up. And then, we'll make this longer. We'll come right up through the sternum. We'll let the arms come tall. And as we're exhaling, arms are going to go wide. We're going to make contact with our core. On that exhale, as the arms come down. And we're just going to keep going down. So rather than drop over, there's a certain amount of dropping forward. But that's really just to accommodate the hips dropping down. And that's what we want to find internally, that dropping down of the hips. And when we're ready to, hips lifting, hands coming up as we make this transition. When we get up, we'll come all the way tall. And we're going to reach up when we come up. And so just feeling our way through one more here. So once we've done that exhale, or once we've had the inhale, and we're exhaling, the arms are going to drop down. We'll make some contact here. And we let the hips drop. So knees bend, there's weight from the hands. We get the hips lower, we can slide the hands lower. And we're just going to keep coming down. Now, we're not going to come up from here. So see if you can have some kind of squat, even if you've got the hands on the ground in front of the feet. That's a really powerful place to play. Or you've got the hips drop down further and there isn't really any weight on the hands. They're both really useful places. We can use either one. We're going to come seated on the mat. So just potentially taking the hands behind, letting the hips drop down, bringing the feet forward. We're going to keep a bit of weight here on the hands. And then initially, we'll just allow the knees to fall one side, then the other. Okay, so next time the knees come upward, just pause there and extend out the legs. Now we are going to keep the knees bent. And from here, we're going to create some circles. So just circling round the heels as our pivot, having these circling come into the knees, up into the hips. And then we're going to extend the legs. I'm just going to touch the fingertips initially just to get a bit of support where I find the muscles of the legs, feel the weight in the sit bones, sink them down, and lift up along the center line of the body. So potentially we really start to feel this inner line of strength from the inner thighs up the psoas, up into the mid-back. And we start to feel that engaged. So once I find that, what I'm going to do is take the hands up, move the hands here over to the right, lean the weight a bit onto the right hip, pull the left knee in, and then slide it out and shift over to the straight leg. Okay, now at some point that left leg comes up again, and then drop the knee toward the center line. And just see for yourself if you can keep the joints okay, especially at the knee, also at the hip. And then when you're ready to bring the knee up, and certainly don't leave it there that long if it doesn't feel okay. Stretching it out, we'll bring the right up and then drop it in toward the center line. Looking after the knee, if it's time to leave, we just leave as soon as it's not good. But try now, if you're still there. Push out the legs. Now just reach the hands down on the ground in front, and we're going to lightly bounce the knees here. And just as we bounce the knees, kind of nudge the feet inward a little bit. And then see if you can find a new distance between the legs, not potentially quite as wide. Now energize the legs, turn the feet inward, sink into the hips, drop the tailbone. Reach up, want to keep the tailbone sinking down, want to keep the thighs engaged and create some length. And then we're going to take the arms forward, rotating, pressing out through the palms and lifting up in the spine. It's like all this effort in the arms and shoulders gives us a little more space to lift the back. And then when you're ready to breathe in, arms are by the ears and strongly push up at the ceiling. And keep sinking the tailbone and all these deep muscles. Have them work. Now we'll keep the face forward, but for a couple of breaths, we're going to tip the eyes downward without tipping the head. Okay, let's sink the arms down. Pull the knees up, slide the feet closer so our knees are about hips width, and then put the hands on the ground underneath the legs. Now gently press down onto the forearms. And just let the back melt forward. Now release arms, release shoulders, relax the upper back. And don't put your full pressure from the legs on the forearms until the back has a chance to relax, to adjust. And then just slowly adding more weight from the legs, always being prepared to say that's enough weight. Okay, let's lift the knees. Now take the feet apart a bit so that the legs are rotated outward so we find the outside edges of the feet. So we'll keep the the right leg will stay where it is, the left leg will straighten out, and just fine tune where the right one is. We've got about a right angle here. We want a comfortable knee, straight leg, let's turn it in. And now let's turn the torso toward this bent knee. So land the fingertips, one behind, one in front, sink down in the hips, take length, and then look round to the side. So it's tempting to lean back, and we kind of always start leaning back a little bit and see if we can just find vertical from the core. And we're going to switch sides. So when you're ready, use an inhale to turn forward, bring the arms up, change the legs, find the legs first, and then keep turning to the other side. Find the hips, find the length. And then inhale forward. Exhale, we get the other side. So on the straight leg, we're turning it inward. On the bent leg, we're gently pressing outward. So legs work as well as the engagement in the hips and the lengthening up in the back. And let's switch. And let's switch again. Now, once we get the left leg straight, the right leg bent, and we're turned to the right, from there, simply come forward and keep the legs where they are. Now, once you're forward, take both arms out. Rotate the arms. Lift up as you bring the arms up. Now, fine tune where this right leg is. So keep lifting in the right arm, bring the left arm down. So here on the right leg, we want a 90-degree angle. We're on the outside edge of the foot and the heel's kind of in front of our hip socket. And so if we need that left arm, it gets to help. But then when you're done with that, just relax it on the thigh, the left thigh, and really press up. Rotate the left leg in, gently but clearly work the right knee outward. Reaching up, we're going to lengthen up and sink the tailbone. So keeping the face forward, have the eyes just rest downward. Okay, let's release that upper arm. We'll bring it down and then switching the legs. So get them basically into position. We're going to twist now toward the left leg. So fingertips in front and behind. Energy in the legs, the hips, and length through the core. And then for the inhale, coming forward, we'll bring the arms out in front. We're going to rotate. We're going to take the arms by the ears and lift. And really take that extension. And when you're ready, that right arm comes down. And again, if you need the hand to help adjust the left, now we do it. And then when we're done, just rest the arm on the straight leg. Push for the ceiling. And then relax the arm down. Release the legs. And we'll get the legs about hips width apart. Gently bounce the knees for a moment. And then lift both knees up. Let's take the hands underneath the thighs. So allow the back just to melt forward. Soften in the back, the arms, the shoulders. And then slowly adding some weight. Gently pressing onto the thigh, onto the forearms with the thighs. Okay, now let's lift the knees. Now, knees are lifted. Let's reach for the ankles. See if we can bring the feet together. So before we do too much with the legs, just having the feet together, holding down somewhere near the feet or ankles. And then feel where the hips are. Still want to find that dropped feeling in the tailbone. It's tempting to lean backward again. So we want to see if we can have the feeling of the sternum here, the breastbone above the pubic bone. And just use that as an inner marker to try to find that placement, feeling inside. And as we work on that, lifting up. Now, so we can keep the core where we've just placed it, and then gently press outward with the knees, gently pressing downward. Okay, we're going to melt forward. So now we're going to soften the back and take your time easing forward. There's no rush here. We want to allow ourselves to feel our way into releasing the back and decide for yourself if the forearms are going to press down on the lower legs or if the forearms are going to go forward of the legs. And just see which feels more natural right now. Now, try to be aware if one hand is pressing harder and connecting more strongly to the feet or the ankles, and see if you can balance the work that's happening from the hands up through the arms to shoulders. And let's soften and just allow ourselves to float up. And when we come up taller, release the right leg and stretch it off to the right, and then draw the left foot closer into the hips, always being prepared to add some padding under the bent knee if that feels like it would be helpful. So we'll place a hand on the straight leg and bring ourselves tall again, and the left arm just reaching up. And just take a moment with the reach, using the reach to open up that left side, lifting on the exhale, reach to the side, and then sweep low in front toward the straight leg and coming tall. Drawing comfortable big circle. Now, when the arm comes up tall, just pause in that place and then switch the direction of the circle. Now, when you're tall again, just pause for a moment and then turn toward the straight leg. We'll float both arms in the air and just ease up, reaching tall. And when you're ready to breathe out, move the arms forward, reach down the leg, take a comfortable hold. Lengthen the neck and melt down. So we want to take the time in our arms and shoulders and shoulder blades to allow the movement, allow the release, allow the sinking. Okay, let's ease up. Use an in-breath, relax the arms, drawing up. And then let's stretch out this left leg. So maybe help the knee come up, just extend the leg, and then just comfortably bounce the knees a few times. When we're ready to go to the other side, just fold that right foot in toward the hip, being prepared to pad for the knee. Put a hand on the straight leg. Now feel the hips here, equal weight. Take length in the back. And we're going to take this right arm up. We're going to press for the ceiling, lengthening along the side. On the exhale, reach out and sweep forward and up. And then when the arm comes tall, just pausing for a moment and switching direction. And when we come up tall again, turning toward the straight leg, floating out both arms. And when we're ready to breathe out, reaching forward, take a comfortable hold. And let the shoulders move and adjust, shoulder blades and arms melting down, melting in the back. Okay, to breathe in, we'll release and come up. And then let's help the right leg stretch out. Just adjust the feet so it's easy to bounce the knees a little bit, and then just slowly bounce them till they're basically parallel out from the hips. And then just slide the hands down onto the legs. Just hold easy. Let the feet relax. Just an easy place to hold the hands. And just allow the back to hang forward. And then slowly start to push the elbows down toward the mat. Now, relax the elbows, have them lift, and we'll float ourselves up. The arms are pretty straight. And keeping the same grip or minor changes. When we exhale, get an exhale going, and now take the elbows out sideways and forward. So not down, but forward and sideways. And as the elbows have spread sideways, maybe the fingers can come a bit lower down the legs and feet. We want to be very observant to the sensations in the back body. If they're uncomfortable, we need to adjust. And then soften the arms again. And keeping the arms straight, just have the hands slide to a new position where actually we're leaning forward now with a bit of weight on the palms and the arms are straight. And so we're not trying to draw down, we're just having the arms brace our position. Okay, now inhale, bring the hands up the legs. We get up around the knees, have the hands help spread the knees open and bring the soles of the feet together again. And then take the hands back down to the feet and gently open the knees. Now we're going to decide if we want the forearms coming onto the lower shins, or we're going to take the forearms in front of the legs. And it just depends a lot on our proportions and how the back is feeling today. Now, as we start to melt forward, always keeping an eye on the back being relaxed, the joints comfortable. And then if it's okay, maybe bring the feet a little closer to the hips. Let's allow ourselves to come up again. Now, reach back with the hands, lean weight onto the hands, and then take the weight off of the legs. Float the legs off the ground. Make sure you're not sitting on your tailbone. So be prepared to shift the weight forward back to the hips, the sit bones. And then when you've got the weight off the tailbone, just flutter the ankles, just gently shaking the legs. Okay, and then land the feet, still leaning back. A couple of times, we're going to go side to side for our knees. Okay, now when the knees come up, just pause there. So explore pointing the fingers further backward rather than forward or sideways. I mean, they do work as positions, but try this one. If it doesn't work, change it. So what happens now is lift the heart, tuck the tailbone a little bit, and just place the feet and the hands where they feel strong. And then lift just the left foot off the ground, put it back down. Lift the right foot off the ground, put it back down. Lift the left hand, and then lifting the right hand. Okay. Now go back to bring the left foot up, and then bring the right hand up. Now feel if the body, the weight has shifted away from that kind of center line between the feet and hands, and shift the core back on that line. And put them both down. And then the other pair. So right foot, left hand, and then keep the core lined up, and then both down. And now float the hips just off the ground. So let the weight of the hips drop down. Keep the back feeling long. And then take that left foot up for a moment. And back down, and take the right foot up for a moment. When you're ready here, keep the chest lifted. Back down. Now on the left hand, just initially lift the heel of the palm so fingertips stay on the ground, and then shift yourself back into the center line, and then see if you can bring the fingertips up and then all the way back down, and then take that other palm off the ground, shift some back to the center, take the hand fully off the ground, back down. Okay, now we go full bore. We're going to bring up the right foot. It's off the ground, left hand, first the heel, then the palm. Stay in the center line. And then heel and hand down. And now the other pair, left foot, right hand. And then both back down. And then from here, the hips come down, move the hips towards the heels, and slide the back onto the mat. Give the back a chance to release. Engage the hips to gently flatten the sacrum. And then on an exhale, let's bring both knees up. Take the hands on the knees, move the knees toward the shoulders. Now just relaxing the legs. Let the arms do the work. Relax the low back, release the hips. And then let go with the right leg. Let the foot land down and scrape out a bit further. And then take that right hand, reach for the left foot. And then use the hands to rock that left leg. Let it circle in the hip and rocking side to side. And then draw that left knee down toward the shoulder. And now take the left arm on the inside of the leg, reach down for the foot, the heel, rest the right arm on the ground. We'll take the left foot up toward the ceiling. And on the exhale, release over onto the left side and gently push out through the foot. And then soften, let the knee bend, roll to the back and switch hands, traveling to the other side. Let's go back and forth, side to side. We'll do 2 or 3 more times. So we can keep a little contact with that right heel or the outside edge of the foot, depending on where we're rotated to. Now, when we take the left leg over to the right, let's pause. We'll get an extra breath here. So the face toward the ceiling, the top hip, move it down a little bit. Tuck the tailbone and work down that straight leg. Find the outside edge of the foot. Create a little more contact there. Use the eyes and look down through the center of the body, through the tailbone, all the way down to that right foot. And now relax and bend the left knee. Bring it in and roll on the back and bring both knees up, the hands holding the knees. Allow the sacrum to flatten. And then release that left leg. Let it land on the ground and scrape out a bit. And then we use both hands to circle and rock the right leg. And then let's draw that right knee in toward the right shoulder. Take the right arm on the inside of the leg. Reach the foot, the heel, the ankle. And then open up the knee so the foot's toward the ceiling. Rest the left arm, roll to the right side, and gently push out through the foot. And then soften the leg to come to the back, switching hands. Take the right leg over to the left. And we'll just travel side to side. Now, whenever we take the right leg to the left, let's pause for a couple of breaths. We'll extend down that lower leg and find the outside edge of the foot. And just tucking the tailbone, move the top hip down. Have the face toward the ceiling. Looking downward with the eyes, all the way down through the body. And now let's release that right leg. Bend the knees, come on the back. We'll bring both knees in. Hands are holding the knees. So use the hands to take the weight of the legs. Position the legs with the sacrum, the low back can release flat. And just follow the breathing into the belly, letting the belly rise and fall like a balloon. And now let the hands soften, let the knees slide out of the hands, and let the feet land back on the ground. Just position the arms away from the sides where the shoulder blades can relax. And then scrape down one leg, scrape down the other. We'll get both legs long. And just relaxing the body on the mat. Simply following the breathing, experiencing the ribs moving, the belly moving. Now let's move again in our fingers, our toes, moving in the ankles and the wrists, moving along the arms, down the legs. Let's reach out, extending from fingertips all the way down to our feet, lengthening our back body. And with an exhale, we'll bring our legs in, hold the knees and rock gently. And releasing onto either side, we'll bring ourselves up to sitting. Namaste.